Breaking right now, an explosion during New York City's busy morning commute. What we know right now about the man in custody.
Wildfires still growing in Southern California with no rain in sight and those Santa Ana winds pushing them along. Why this could be the new normal.
Things turning really ugly in Jacksonville. It was tough to watch. The Seahawks losing a couple more players and a pretty messy showing against the Jaguars.
This is Q13 News This Morning.
It is just about 6 a.m. on this Monday, and boy, it is a busy start right now. Thanks for joining us. I'm Liz DeWicki.
A lot going on this half hour. I'm Bill Wixie, and we begin in New York City. We have new details pouring in after an explosion at a busy bus terminal in central Manhattan. Police say they have arrested a suspect. The AP now reporting that that man had a pipe bomb strapped to him when it went off in a subway platform.
Yeah, so want to take a live look at the huge police response at the Port Authority bus terminal right in the heart of Manhattan. It happened just over an hour ago, right in the middle of the morning commute. So at this point, police say the suspect was hurt, is expected to survive, and right now, no indication that anyone else was hurt. The Port Authority bus terminal, though, as we've mentioned here, it is the busiest in the country. It services several subway lines, which at this point are having to bypass this area. So that's making it even more difficult this time of morning here. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo at the scene. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio on his way to the scene. And the White House also says President Donald Trump has been briefed as well. We are keeping you up to date as this new information comes in. For just a live look as police have that scene barricaded off right now, and that investigation continues.
I want to give you a look at weather and traffic right now. MJ standing by with that.
Hey, good morning. Well, this pattern continues for a few more days. We've got the fog developing in Seattle. Lots of fog in outlying areas. Please be careful this morning. Below freezing, 31. So, yeah, there are frozen spots. Even the parking lot in our building is a little frozen this morning. So just careful even walking down your front steps. So the morning fog gives way to beautiful afternoon sunshine and highs in the mid-40s, which is kind of where we've been. And so as you step out the door, bundle up and don't forget those sunglasses. By the end of the week, you're going to be pulling out the hooded jacket again. I'll track that in just a bit. Right now, here's Adam.
Hey, thanks, MJ. This morning, we do see the foggy, frosty start still working against us in Tacoma. And a good example of that is in this DOT camera shot right here, I-5, right through Pacific, right? So that seems to be one of the more difficult challenges we're wrestling with is the South Sound. Shelton, Olympia, Tacoma, Gig Harbor, you've all kind of been under the fog and the cold temperatures making things more challenging. The Valley Freeway heavier out of Puyallup. Watching North 405 through the Renton curves busier, and I-5 and 405 out of the north southbound trying to get across the county line. That's going to have a stagnation to it as well. It's just not so fun. Liz and Bill, back over to you.
This morning we have the stage 1 burn ban in effect for 4 counties in western Washington this morning.
And this is happening in King, Snohomish, Pierce, and Thurston counties because of the stagnant air that we have in our region right now. So under a stage 1 burn ban, you cannot use your fireplace, uncertified wood stoves, or inserts. Outdoor burning also illegal. Burn ban violations could cost you a $1,000 fine. If you're sensitive to air pollution, the Department of Health recommends that you limit your time outside this week, especially when exercising.
Well, starting today, one local city will stop sending out one of its fire engines if it means paying overtime. That's a move the firefighters union says will create a public safety risk. Here's what's going on. According to the Herald, the Everett Fire Department is $1.5 million over budget in overtime this year. The union representing Everett firefighters saying rather than sidelining an engine, the city needs to budget for more full-time firefighters. The union says that would help cut down on overtime without affecting public safety. Mayor-elect right now, Cassie Franklin, says this will be a top priority once she takes office. Right now, Everett has 7 fire engines, so that means starting today, only 6 of those will be available for emergency calls in the event of overtime.
The wildfires in Southern California continue to burn this morning. There is no rain in sight, and those Santa Ana winds pushing them along at a dangerous pace. So far, 230,000 acres have been scorched by one fire burning in Ventura County. That's about the same area as Everett, all the way down to Olympia. And you can see the area in Ventura County. It's engulfed in flames and thick smoke this morning. Nearly 200 buildings have been damaged, 800 others destroyed. Thousands more homes are threatened. More than 200,000 people have already had to evacuate. Officials expect high fire risk to last well into January. Experts say climate change making it a year-round threat, and this is now the 5th largest wildfire in California history. Officials announcing yesterday containment has actually dropped from 15 to 10%.
6:03 right now. Renton-based Providence St. Joseph Health reportedly talking about a merger that would create the largest single owner of hospitals in the entire country. According to our partners at the Seattle Times, Providence is in discussions with another Catholic health organization, Ascension Health, which is based out of St. Louis. If the two were to merge, almost 200 hospitals in 27 states would be consolidated under the same company, with an estimated annual revenue of almost $45 billion. The Times is reporting that if this does happen, the newly merged company could have its joint headquarters in Chicago, and that could impact thousands of local employees right here and also in St. Louis as well. So, talking Seahawks this morning, it was a really messy loss to the Jags yesterday.
It certainly was, and the Hawks could not keep the momentum off of last week's big win against the Eagles. It was 3-0 at the half because the Hawks could not get anything going offensively. Russell Wilson deep to Doug Baldwin, and that pass intercepted in the end zone. Wilson had 3 interceptions in this game. The Seahawks eventually catch up in the fourth, closing the gap to a 6-point game, but they just couldn't pull it off. The Hawks already down Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman, and Cliff Averill. They lost Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright as well. Both left with knee injuries. We'll get an update on that today. In the end, the Jaguars just played a bit stronger.
Blake Bortles looked like a Pro Bowler, as you said. I mean, he had great numbers. He was like 69% through. His numbers looked like what Russell Wilson numbers look like usually. No interceptions.
We wanted it more at the end, and we tried to do whatever we could to be able to fight back. We had a lot of big plays at the end. Line did a great job blocking so we could get those plays going. We just didn't have enough time.
So the Seahawks back home next Sunday to face the Rams right here on Q13 Fox. We'll have a full day of coverage starting at 12:30 with a pregame show leading you right up to kickoff at CenturyLink Field at 1 o'clock. And then we'll have a full hour of postgame coverage with reaction from head coach Pete Carroll and the players right here on your official Seahawks station. Now, emotions running high at the end of the game. On the Seahawks' final possession, 4th down, Paul Richardson gets pulled down by the defender. You see it there in the middle of your screen. It was a clear penalty. Should have given the Seahawks a first down, but instead, no call. The Hawks turned the ball over on downs, and then it got really ugly. With the Jags in victory formation, the Seahawks bulldozed through the Jags offensive line. Sheldon Richardson ends up getting kicked out of the game for throwing a punch. And then on the next play, more chaos breaking out. Seahawks defensive lineman Quentin Jefferson was ejected. He began arguing and yelling at fans who threw drinks at him as he left the field, even attempting to climb into the stands at one point. And we will find out more this week on whether any of these fights will end up in punishments or suspensions. But the Seahawks can ill afford that, as depleted as they are on defense. So, as I mentioned, the Hawks facing the Rams on Sunday at CenturyLink Field. That's a game that could potentially decide the NFC West because the Rams lost to the Eagles yesterday. Philadelphia won the NFC East, but they lost star quarterback Carson Wentz in the process. The Eagles reportedly worried that Wentz may have torn his ACL in his left knee. He could miss the rest of the season. Now, officially, the team says it won't know anything for sure until Wentz is evaluated later today. But an MVP candidate, and that would be a devastating blow to the Philadelphia Eagles and their playoff hopes. So we'll be monitoring that situation as well. But in the meantime, that game next Sunday at CenturyLink Field, as we anticipated, is going to be a huge game, potentially the NFC West Championship.
And that game yesterday, I mean, that end, you're just sitting there kind of like watching like this. Like,
yeah,
please make it stop. I don't want to watch, but I can't stop watching.
When Quentin Jefferson almost climbed into the stands there, I was just screaming, no,
please
no,
don't. Please
don't
stop.
do that.
Yeah.
I get it.
Emotions run high.
It was classless by those fans to start throwing things at him, but at the same time, boy, the Seahawks just really, they struggle sometimes with the composure.
Yeah.
And accepting defeat is tough sometimes.
I'm going to move on to weather.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, probably some rain for the game this Sunday coming up. Well, the fog is definitely getting denser as we look from CenturyLink over to the viaduct there. You can kind of see the Great Wheel ghosting. And it's below freezing, 31 in Seattle right now. So definitely some areas of ice on the roadways. And we talked about this already. An air stagnation advisory for the Central Sound up to the Canadian border and down to Kelso and basically all of eastern Washington. This goes until noon today. I will not be surprised if they decide to extend it because we've still got that stagnant air out there. Current air quality is moderate to that unhealthy for sensitive groups, so you may be feeling this, especially people with respiratory issues, and it's going to last for, like I said, till noon, but the air quality is not going to be great until it starts to rain again around here. which starts on Thursday. I'll talk about that in a sec. 26 in Shelton right now. It's only 21 in Olympia. Will someone drop into the teens today? 25 Joint Base was McCord Chehalis, 29 in Wenatchee, and 27 in Bellingham. So like we've been having the bits of morning fog go away, nice afternoon sunshine, and temperatures a little below normal. 46 for Seattle and Burien, 47 Bellevue, Redmond, Sammamish, and 45 in Bremerton this afternoon. 45 in Tacoma, 46 Auburn, Puyallup, Lakewood, 44 in Olympia. Starting out so cold, Olympia. 49 for the high in Bellingham today. A little warmer here to the north. 48 for Mount Vernon and Arlington. And real quick, it seems counterintuitive when I look at the temperature for Forks. 57. Yes, that's true. We've been getting this downslope easterly flow off of the Olympics, warming up Forks to 57 while everybody else is topping out in the 40s. And over the Cascades at freezing level, 12,500 feet, because we have that temperature inversion in place with warmer air aloft, and that's helping to keep stuff trapped at the surface. Tomorrow and Wednesday, pretty much carbon copies of today. Bits of morning fog, afternoon sunshine, a tiny bit warmer, upper 40s. And then Thursday looks pretty much the same, but late Thursday into Friday, we start to get our next round of rain. Chance of showers on Friday, 47 for the high. And there's that chance of rain over the weekend with highs in the mid to upper 40s, including for the Seahawks game. All righty, Adam, how are we starting out on this kind of icy commute?
Well, yeah, a foggy, frosty start. A lot of folks having to keep the ice scraper handy as they get out to their car if they're parked outside. And that's kind of indicative of what we're finding in through Tacoma right now. Northbound I-5, a snaky go, getting up from 16 towards the Dome, and visibility becoming more and more of a question. That's kind of thickening up like a stew lately. We've been watching that just really fill in more and more. Have also seen the foggier conditions across the Narrows, closer out towards Gig Harbor and Shelton. Northbound on the Valley Freeway, the heaviness continues out of Puyallup, getting up through Pacific and Auburn. Watching northbound I-5 from Federal Way and towards South Center, also rolling kind of tough. North 405, tougher through the Renton curves. The curves themselves going from 62 to 50, down to 25, back up to 50 miles an hour, so you get a feel for the real dip, right? Out of the north, southbound 5, also hesitations right around the Kings-Snohomish County line. Out of Marysville, we've seen some lineups. Southbound moving towards 528 and 529. Westbound US 2, also busier across the trestle. State Ferry so far checking in okay. Sounder Rail checks in on time. And Mountain passes Stevens, Snoqualmie, White Pass, no restrictions. Liz and Bill, back over to you.
We are tracking breaking news from New York this morning. An explosion reported at a busy transportation hub right in the midst of the morning commute. We have new details on that.
Plus, a local family who thought they were doing everything right, still targeted by thieves who found them online. So this morning, one easy way you can avoid becoming a victim.
Q13 News at 9 is local news when and where you want it. Late news early. Q13 News at 9 on Joe TV, Cable 10, Channel 22.
The Season of Adventure sales event is happening now. Land Rover, above and beyond.
It's all about quality of service. Service on 3. 1, 2, 3. Service! I'm Bobby Wagner, GM of Beacon Plumbing. Stop freaking. Call Beacon.
You put aside some cash in a traditional savings account with a rate that sounded great. But then, after a few months, that promotional rate came crashing down. You and your money deserve better. Take about 5 minutes and open a Capital One savings account right here or anywhere. You'll get one of the nation's best rates, not a promotional rate. Welcome to Banking Reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Diamonds, their lowest prices ever. Certified half-carat rings just $675, 1 carat $17.90, and larger $29.50 per carat. Thousands of GIA diamonds at insane prices, plus over 50% savings on custom designs. Buy direct, the Jewelry Exchange, Renton.
Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? A beautiful sight. Walking in a winter wonderland.
Naughty or nice, we don't judge. Everyone can get our best deals of the season on select models during Hyundai holidays.
Better is the reason about Hyundai.
Lease a Tucson, now for just $179 a month.
Hurry to your Western Washington Hyundai dealer today.
Not exactly a day to remember. Make it a night you won't soon forget. At a place that takes everything up a notch. Where sparks fly. Luck is at hand. And dreams are always in the cards. Snoqualmie Casino. Minutes away and a world apart.
Snoqualmie Casino, the official traffic sponsor of Q13 News. Minutes away and a world apart. Seattle's closest. Snoqualmie Casino.
Welcome back. 6:14 right now. We continue to learn more about breaking news in New York City. An explosion on a subway platform at one of the busiest transit centers in the world.
This is what we know right now. The New York Police Department saying that they have arrested a man after that explosion. This happened just before 5 o'clock our time. That suspect was injured but is expected to survive. The New York Fire Department has tweeted that a total of 4 people are injured. None of those injuries life-threatening. And it is not clear if that number includes the suspect. Law enforcement officials telling the Associated Press that the suspect had some kind of pipe bomb strapped to his body when it went off. The Port Authority bus terminal services several subway lines, all of which are having to bypass the area as of now. And you see the police presence there. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo at the scene. Mayor Bill de Blasio is on the way. The White House says that President Donald Trump has been briefed on this as well. And we will continue to keep updating this information throughout the morning. An explosion at a bus terminal in Manhattan this morning.
All right, also want to let you know this morning, we have some information about a school closing right now in the Coopville School District. That is closed. The Coopville School District closed due to a power outage. No kindergarten, no preschool, and that's due to a main building power outage. Coopville Elementary School canceled today there. So just a heads up on what is happening in the Coopville School District. Also this morning here, police need your help this morning finding suspects that they say broke into multiple coffee stands.
And this is happening in the Tumwater area. Take a look at these photos from surveillance at Capitol Peaks Espresso. Police say these two are also suspected in burglaries at S&J's Cafe Express and the Brim at Black Lake. They ask you to call the Tumwater Police Department or Crime Stoppers if you can help identify these two.
Well, this morning here, one family's warning about meeting people to sell items through apps. In fact, a Seattle mother and son say they were scammed even after taking steps to protect themselves. 16-year-old Cyrus trying to sell his Air Jordans through the app OfferUp. He agreed to meet up with the buyers at Northgate Mall. After he handed the shoes to the men in the green car, you see the car here, they took off without paying the $315 he was selling the shoes for. The family says they took all precautions, asking the buyers to meet inside the Target in Northgate, but the men then asked the teen to meet them in the garage so they could look at the shoes. Cyrus's mom was recording that video the whole time.
I just felt like I needed to record. I know this is dangerous, but I figured that if I'm there, we're at a public place, we did everything right, that everything was going to be, it will be okay.
I just went with my feeling of, okay, I'm going to get this money, but I didn't think of like any consequences of like just the setting and why they're just staying in the car, It's just things to like look out for next time.
Police say if you are buying or selling anything online, the safest place to meet is going to be a police station. There are specific locations there designated for internet purchase exchanges. These locations are always going to be under surveillance.
All right, 6:17 now. Let's get a check of your Monday weather and traffic. MJ?
Well, it's a little dicey out there. The fog, is, you can see at the very bottom of the screen here, is kind of getting thicker right in the Central Sound from Boeing Field up through Seattle. 32 degrees, of course, right at freezing with clear skies above the fog. So you can see Seattle, SeaTac, but it's not as bad to the south like we're used to it down around Joint Base with McCord, Olympia, and Shelton. Also, Everett and Arlington reporting clear skies right now, but Whidbey Island northward we have that fog. And because it's so cold out there, it could be freezing fog. In fact, because of the clear skies, Olympia, you've dropped down to 21 degrees right now, 25 at Joint Base with McCord, and 26 in Shelton, the other super cold spot, Arlington at 24. Without that fog, it's not acting like a blanket, so it gets to be even colder. It's right at freezing in Seattle with fog, and it was a little icy, like right on the roads in my neighborhood, so just take it easy this morning. 46 by lunchtime, our high today, with sunny skies and clear skies for the evening commute, and overnight tonight, fog looks likely to redevelop. Everett, you don't have that fog, but definitely north of Everett, around Port Townsend and up to Bellingham, we've got that fog. 34 at Payne Field right now, 47 by lunchtime, nice sunshine and fog, looking likely to redevelop overnight tonight. Not as foggy in the south end, although the Narrows are reporting fog right now. Tacoma Narrows, 35 degrees, 45 for your lunch hour, with beautiful sunshine. And then overnight tonight, fog looks likely to reform. Tomorrow and Wednesday, bits of morning fog, afternoon clearing, highs in the mid to upper 40s. Thursday, probably the same, but late Thursday, we'll watch some extra clouds roll in. And overnight Thursday into Friday, rain. It's been gone for so long. And the weekend's looking quite wet right now, with highs in the mid to upper 40s, including for the Seahawks game. We could be a little rain shadowed around Seattle, so I have to see how much Seattle gets, but definitely the weather is changing. All righty, Adam, how are we starting out on this Monday?
Well, kind of a foggier start and a frostier start for drivers in the south end at this point. Tacoma drivers, you found that that continues to be a real challenge getting from 16 towards the Dome and the Puyallup River Bridge. And have also noticed that the lineups also don't really fill in on, say, the Narrows Bridge, but the visibility does become a question. Out of the south end, Nisqually up towards DuPont and JBLM, also a few little hitches in the get-along again from the frostier, foggier start. We see northbound 405, or north on the Valley Freeway, that heaviness out of Puyallup getting up towards Pacific. Yeah, it's about, 59 minutes from Tacoma to Seattle. The Valley Freeway moves just a little heavier, yet also getting in towards the 18 side of things. We've seen north 405 tougher through the Renton curves, and what's happening on northbound I-5 as well. Yeah, some slowness. 33 minutes getting from SeaTac into Bellevue. SeaTac into Seattle at this point, 26 minutes of commute time. What happens on 520 and I-90? Not a whole lot. South 5, South 405, also a reasonable go getting out of the north. That starts to fill in just a little bit yet, but not completely out of control. That'll be closer towards 63 minutes getting from Everett to Seattle, and closer towards 57 minutes Everett to Bellevue on South 405. So those numbers are tipping up, but like I say, not out of control. Liz and Bill, back over to you.
6:20 right now, and coming up, a call for a ban relating to your window blinds to prevent children's deaths. We'll talk about that, and also talking about a battle expected to last for months. Uber goes to court in one city to allow them to operate.
Those halls, trim those trees, raise up cups of Christmas here. I just need to catch my breath. Christmas by myself this year.
Goldberg's promo, take 3.
I really don't get what's happening.
Cut!
The Goldbergs, tonight at 7 on Joe TV.
Toyota-thon is on, and that means incredible year-end savings on a huge selection of our most popular models, like the adventurous RAV4, well-equipped Corolla, sporty all-new 2018 Camry, and more. Now get just announced 0% APR financing plus $1,000 bonus cash on a 2018 Camry, or an unbelievably low $199 a month lease on a Camry LE. Toyota-thon deals end January 2nd. Hurry in today to get yours before they're gone. Toyota, let's go places.
This is my everyday. Up early, rush to get ready, wake her up for school, catch the bus to put in a full day here, get home in time for dinner and her homework, then off to bed, so I can do it again tomorrow. Choosing my M-Better health plan helps me focus on my health, see my doctor, get my flu shot, and earn rewards. I'm making better choices to be a better me. Better is an even better me.
There's one road that will always remain the same. It's familiar. It's comfortable. And its destination is somewhere we never quite left. It's the road home. Now through January 2nd, get a holiday credit of up to $3,000 on select models.
Limited time, save up to $300 on the purchase and installation of select furnaces from Greenwood Heating and Air. Nobody knows home comfort better than Greenwood. And now you can get pre-season savings of up to $300. Since 1921, Washington's oldest and most trusted. Greenwood Heating and Air.
Automatic emergency braking.
It stopped for you.
Standard on Nissan's most popular models. Hurry, the 2017s are almost gone. Lease the Rogue family for $159 per month, or get 0% financing for up to 72 months on Rogue. See Star Wars: The Last Jedi in theaters December 15th.
Q13 weather is brought to you by Les Schwab Tires. Whatever the forecast holds, now's a good time to come by and we'll get you ready for winter. Les Schwab Tires. Doing the right thing matters.
Welcome back. 6:23 here on a busy Monday morning. We have a ton to talk about, so thanks for joining us this morning here. We'll get you an update on what's happening in New York City in just a few minutes here. But first, a new study recommends a complete ban on window blinds with cords. According to the study published in the journal Pediatrics, almost 300 children were killed. Another 17,000 were hurt by these types of blinds between 1990 and 2015. In most cases here, the kids became entangled or were strangled by the cords. An industry trade organization now pushing for a plan to make cordless blinds the only option available. Meanwhile, this morning here, Washington State University trying to find ways to climb out of a huge deficit.
Now, according to the Seattle Times, Washington State University departments have found ways to keep retention counselors and avoid cutting graduate research stipends, but some are unhappy with how the administration is handling the $30 million deficit. Recently, WSU eliminated its performing arts program. The university trying to reduce $10 million from the deficit each year and break even in 3. So to do that, each department has been told to spend about 2.5% less in 2018.
Today, Uber goes to court in London. London's Transport Authority revoked Uber's license back in September, saying it wasn't fit to operate. The court hearing today is an early step in Uber's fight to get that decision overturned, but the battle is expected to continue for months. We'll keep you posted on what happens there. This year, thousands of families across Western Washington are struggling to afford gifts for Christmas.
But there is something you can do to help. Yeah, Q13 News teaming up with Les Schwab Tire Centers for our annual holiday toy drive. You can stop by any Les Schwab now through December 19th and drop off a new unwrapped toy, which will go to families in our community. You can also make a cash donation at Q13Fox.com. Toys and gifts for kids of all ages are welcome, especially for teenagers.
So last year, you helped collect 35,000 toys, making the holidays brighter for kids all over Western Washington. Hopefully we can top that this year, and thank you from all of us for your donation. And just to mention here, if your family wants to apply for help, go to ForgottenChildren'sFund.org, click on Request Help, and follow the instructions there.
An explosion rattles commuters this morning in New York. We expect an update from New York police in just a few moments.
Plus, a review board explaining why they determined Seattle police officers acted reasonably when they shot and killed Charlena Lyles earlier this year.
Just the right shop for the holiday car. Didn't think it would be so hard.
Road trip home to see the family. Presents for mom and just a little laundry. Holiday Road.
Get on the Holiday Road in a Honda Fit. See your dealer for great holiday deals during the Happy Honda Days sales event.
Show her you care. Tanzanite set $69, stackable bands $99, 3-stone rings $169, half-carat $399, 1-carat $699, and 1-carat studs $399. Thousands of gifts guaranteed to appraise for double. The Jewelry Exchange Renton.
Bob, I don't know where this van is going, but this guy is in a hurry.
I was in a hurry this morning. Barely had time for breakfast. Growl.
Grumpy.
Hey guys, try my country scrambler plate with Jimmy Dean sausage, home-style potatoes, and scrambled eggs, mixed with bacon, ham, and cheese.
Careful out there, Jack. I heard there's some crazy driver in a van.
Try my brunchless country scrambler plate with Jimmy Dean sausage.
The Season of Adventure sales event is happening now. Land Rover, above and beyond.
Whatever inspires you this holiday season, Fred Meyer is here to help make it magical.
It's the most wonderful time
with the ones you love, from traditional flavors to new favorites they'll savor, and make every moment truly special. Happy holidays from Fred Meyer.
Bring home petite sirloin steaks for $2.77 a pound, and California navel oranges are 67 cents a pound.
We all have that thing inside. You can keep it chained, but I say smash the lock and set it free. That's a brotherhood of muscle.
Well-qualified current lessees of competitive vehicles get a low-mileage lease on the 2017 Dodge Durango for $259 a month.
The death of Charlena Lyles, a police review board explaining why officers did follow protocol when they shot the Seattle mother earlier this year.
An explosion in New York City this morning. We're expecting to learn more from authorities in just a few minutes.
Fog and air quality, two big concerns in western Washington today. MJ has a look at when we will get some relief.
This is Q13 News This Morning.
All right, good morning. A lot to cover this half hour. I'm Bill Wixie.
I'm Liz DeWicki, and yeah, it is a really busy Monday morning here to start. First things first, let's talk a little bit about that weather and traffic. MJ is following that for us right now. It is really cold again.
Yeah, freezing in Seattle. There are 32 degrees. Our normal low is 36. This is Capitol Hill looking down. Clear skies above, fog below. And fog is kind of thick around the Central Sound right now. But this afternoon, like the pattern we've been having, the fog burns off. We see beautiful sunshine. Chilly, 46 for the high in Seattle today, 45 Tacoma and Everett. And Bremerton, rather, 47 in Everett. A little warmer in Bellingham, 49 degrees. As you step out the door, bundle up. Don't forget your sunglasses and be careful for icy spots. It could be just on a sidewalk in front of your house. All right, I'll check the coming weather in just a bit. There are changes on the way. Right now, here's Adam.
Boy, visibility, a real question. And the fog, frost you might deal with this morning, a real question as well. Drivers getting in through Tacoma at this point. 16 in past Union. Not that volume is the concern, but visibility certainly is. So keeping those speeds in check as you head out this morning, bright and early. Going to have to keep that ice scraper handy as well. You'll find northbound I-5, that stress continues in through Tacoma, the Valley Freeway. Also a little more dense out of Puyallup in towards Pacific, Auburn, Kent, northbound I-5 in through Federal Way. We've seen 405 stagnant through the Renton curves, plus out of the north, South 5 and South 405. That business getting into the Kings and Snohomish County line, also that much more difficult. Guys, back over to you.
We continue right now to learn more about breaking news in New York City. An explosion on a subway platform at one of the busiest transit centers in the world.
This is what we know right now. The New York Police Department saying that they have arrested a man after that explosion, which happened just before 5 o'clock our time. You're looking at the scene of a press conference that is set to begin any moment. And when that happens, we'll get that information live to you. Meantime, that suspect was injured, but is expected to survive. The New York Fire Department just tweeted that a total of 4 people were injured. None of those injuries life-threatening, we understand, and it is not clear whether that number includes the suspect. Law enforcement officials told the Associated Press that the suspect had some kind of pipe bomb strapped to his body when it went off. The Port Authority bus terminal services several subway lines there, all of which are having to bypass the area for now. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo there at the scene. Mayor Bill de Blasio is on the way. And the White House says that President Donald Trump has been briefed on the situation as well. We will continue to keep you updated as new information comes in, and when that press conference happens, we will take that live. Meantime, as tomorrow's Alabama Senate election gets closer, the public has seen less of Republican candidate Roy Moore. Moore has recently been focusing his energy on meeting with small groups of supporters, along with using social media to his advantage after being accused of sexual misconduct with teens decades ago. Moore denies the accusations. Now, Moore is holding a rally today in Dale County. That's near the Alabama-Florida border. The region is key to his chances. Former Trump advisor Steve Bannon also expected to make an appearance there.
Meanwhile, Democratic candidate Doug Jones accused Moore of being in hiding. Jones traveled around Alabama yesterday, wrapping up his tour with a speech at a church in Huntsville, slamming Moore's record in Alabama Supreme Court.
Look at my resume. Well, let me tell you, folks, my resume, I'm not one that got kicked out of office twice. At the end of the day, you want an effective U.S. senator.
Over the weekend, Alabama's sitting Senator, Republican Richard Shelby, told CNN he could not bring himself to vote for Moore and chose to write in a candidate instead. Jones is expected to use part of that interview, for a campaign robocall today.
Now, leaving aside the accusations against Moore, this race is a huge deal for the Senate because this particular seat in Alabama has been reliably Republican. If Jones manages to flip that seat, it means Republicans go from having 52 out of 100 seats to having just 51. That means Republicans will not be able to lose any votes if they want to force legislation through. We're also learning more why a force review board decided that 2 Seattle police officers followed their training and department policy when they shot and killed Charlena Lyles earlier this year. Our news partners at the Seattle Times reporting that the review board is not recommending any new training.
So Lyles called 911 to report a burglary at her apartment back in June. Officers say shortly after they responded, Lyles threatened them with knives. After ordering her to drop the weapons, the officers shot and killed her. Lyles was pregnant at the time, and her death led to protests and calls for the police department to improve training.
Well, Brandy is here. Take us through the review board's decision in this case and why it felt that shooting Lyles was the only viable choice for these officers.
Yeah, there's a couple things, and a lot of it has to do with the way this apartment was set up and the position that these officers found themselves in when Charlena Lyles pulled these knives out. And the other one has to do with the fact that her children were in the apartment, and that factored into it. What was the threat to Charlena Lyles' children at the time of this? I think to help you sort of visualize what I'm talking about, we want to pull up this morning. This was released by SPD shortly after this shooting happened. It's a crime scene mock-up. I'm going to head over there, but if we could just take that, because I think explaining sort of how these officers were positioned in the apartment helps you understand a little bit about what the department was thinking. So if we come in close here, it's important to understand what these markers mean. B right here is Charlena Lyles. So this is where she was positioned at the time that she was shot and killed by SPD. One of the officers, McNew, is out in the doorway, but the other officer is here in the building. This is Officer McNew. This is Officer Anderson. So one of the things that this force review board realized is that this officer had nowhere to go. He was looking, his back was essentially against a wall. And so when Charlena Lyles pulled out a knife, something that the review board found was a baton might not have been effective in that situation, that pepper spray. So the only thing he's got in his hand is a baton and pepper spray, the only 2 options he has at his disposal. The Force Review Board found that neither of those could have been effective in this situation. Also, we know that the officers didn't have a taser on them. One of them, Anderson, had left his taser. He could, in his locker. He could face disciplinary action for that. But that shooting Charlena Lyles in this moment was the only feasible option because they point out that the knives could have easily killed either of those 2 officers. So obviously the family of Charlena Lyles is not thrilled about this ruling. I want to read you a statement from the attorney for a few of the family members. It reads in part, in finding Charlena Lyles' killing to be within policy, the Seattle Police Department is saying that the same events that led to Charlena Lyles' death could happen again tomorrow, and there is no plan underway to make that outcome less likely. Family members expect the police oversight system and City of Seattle elected officials to insist that SPD push harder to find another tactical option for officers in a situation like this. So they are not pleased, but I will note, as I said there, Officer Anderson did forget his taser on this day. It's possible he could face disciplinary action related to the fact that he simply didn't have his taser on him. SPD officers aren't required to carry tasers, but if you are assigned a taser, you have to have it with you. He left it in his locker charging that day.
What impact will this have on the court-ordered mandates? Oh, wait, we have to go to New York City. Okay, we have some new information coming in right now, a press conference going on in New York City, updating us on an explosion at the Port Authority bus terminal this morning. Let's listen.
Passageway between 42nd and 8th and 42nd and 7th. The governor's going to speak, the mayor's going to speak. I'm going to give you some more details. Dan Nigo is going to talk about some of the minor injuries, and then Joe Love is going to talk about subway service. Governor?
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning to everyone. The first news this morning was obviously very frightening and disturbing. When you hear about a bomb in the subway station, which is in many ways one of our worst nightmares, the reality turns out better than the initial expectation and fear. You had a number of law enforcement agencies that did a fantastic job. The NYPD, the PAPD, the Port Authority Police, the MTA Police, they were all on it. You see behind us representatives of all the agencies coordinated. The Assistant Director of the FBI, Bill Sweeney, is here. So everyone worked together. There was an explosion. The police commissioner will go over the details. It was an effectively low-tech device. There were several injuries, we hope minor, and it was handled extraordinarily well. There was a disruption in train service and bus service while a sweep was being done. That's all being restored now, as you'll hear from Joe Loda. The subway service, except at 42nd Street, is being restored. The Port Authority bus terminal is reopened, so buses will be running once again. This is New York. The reality is that we are a target by many who would like to make a statement against democracy, against freedom. We have the Statue of Liberty in our harbor, and that makes us an international target. We understand that. With the internet now, anyone can go on the internet and download garbage and vileness on how to put together an amateur-level explosive device. And that is the reality that we live with. The counter-reality is that this is New York, and we all pitch together, and we are a savvy people, and we keep our eyes open, and that's what See Something, Say Something is all about. And we have the best law enforcement on the globe, and we're all working together extraordinarily well. I want to thank the mayor and the mayor's office for doing a great job this morning, and we will go forward, and we'll go forward together. All the service will resume. Let's go back to work. We're not going to allow them to disrupt us. That's exactly what they want, and that is exactly what they're not going to get. Thank you.
Sir, thank you. Thank you very much, Governor. Let's be clear, as New Yorkers, our lives revolve around the subways. When we hear of an attack in the subway, it's incredibly unsettling. And let's be also clear, this was an attempted terrorist attack. Thank God the perpetrator did not achieve his ultimate goals. Thank God our first responders were there so quickly to address the situation, to make sure people were safe. Thank God the only injuries, as we know at this point, were minor. But I agree 100% with the governor's point that choice of New York is always for a reason, because we're a beacon to the world, and we actually show that society of many faiths and many backgrounds can work, and we show that democracy can work, and our enemies want to undermine that. The terrorists want to undermine that, so they yearn to attack New York City. But New York City is blessed with the finest law enforcement, and what our first responders did today was another example of the ability to address the situation quickly, contain it, and make sure people are safe. Let me just say, it's very important for my fellow New Yorkers to know there are no additional known incidents at this time. There are no additional known activities. We will wait for a fuller investigation, of course, by the NYPD and the MTA police and Port Authority police and FBI. But at this point in time, all we know of is one individual who, thank God, was unsuccessful in his aims. There are also no credible and specific threats against New York City at this time. But we will give you more information, of course, as the investigation unfolds. The first responders responded brilliantly. Now the mission of the NYPD is to secure all major transit hubs and major sites in this city. So you'll see expanded NYPD presence today all over the city. New Yorkers have come to understand when you see our specialized forces, when you see those long guns and those highly trained officers, that's something that should be reassuring to you. It means NYPD is on full alert and out in force, and that means you're safe. Finally, want to say, the governor invoked that phrase, we can't say it enough times, when you see something, say something. This is the difference maker. We've seen it time and again. When an everyday New Yorker sees something that doesn't make sense, hears something, sees a package, gets a feeling that something's wrong, don't hold it to yourself. Tell a police officer. They are the ones who can take the information and act on it. It's so important to speak up because you could be saving many lives by doing so. I'll finish by saying this. This is the most resilient place on earth. We've proven it time and time again. We proved it just over a month ago. We proved it on 9/11. We're going to prove it again today. The terrorists will not win. We're going to keep being New Yorkers. Let's get back to work. Thank you.
All right, these are the preliminary facts. So it just happened a couple hours ago, so you have to understand these are preliminary facts. At approximately 7:20, in a below-ground walkway, which connects the I&D line at 4-2 and 8th Avenue with the IRT line at 4-2 and 7, and that's the shuttle at Times Square and the 1, 2, and 3 train. Police were called to a reported explosion. Responding units found an injured 27-year-old male. We've identified him as Akayed Ullah, Akayed Ullah. He had burns and wounds to his body. Preliminary investigation at the scene indicates this male was wearing an improvised, low-tech explosive device attached to his body. He intentionally detonated that device. Looks like there are 3 other people in the immediate area also sustained minor injuries, but Dan Nigro is going to talk about that. The subject was placed in custody and transported to Bellevue Hospital. Immediate police response to the scene included members of the Transit Bureau, Emergency Service Division, Bomb Squad, Counterterrorism, MTA Police, State Troopers, and the FBI's Joint Terrorist Task Force. In addition, the NYPD Strategic Response Group and Critical Response Command were assigned to other key transportation hubs in other locations throughout the city as a precautionary measure. This incident was captured on transit system video. A further review and interview of witnesses is underway. A thorough background investigation into Akayed Ullah is being conducted by the Joint Terrorist Task Force. We are asking anyone who may have any information about this individual or incident to call the terror hotline, and that's 888-NYC-SAFE. Just as the governor said, and as the mayor said, we are New Yorkers. We don't live in fear. If you see something that doesn't look right, you have an obligation to come forward, call 911, flag down a cop, and give us a chance to investigate it. Dan Nigro is going to talk about the injuries now. Dan?
Thank you, Jim. As the police commissioner mentioned, the perpetrator...
All right, we just got an update there from NYPD on this explosion that happened earlier this morning. It was 7:20 Eastern time. Earlier this morning here, below ground, a walkway here. Police were called to the scene, and we've also learned more about who that suspect is right now, who had what they are saying, a low-tech explosive device attached to his body. 27-year-old Akayed Ullah, who they found injured because of this explosive device. It sounds like him and 3 other people were injured, taken to the hospital. That suspect is also now in custody this morning.
We also got an update on the transit service, obviously a main artery for transportation in New York City. Bus service back up and running right now. The subway station at Times Square has been shut down for the time being. We also heard from the governor. We heard from the mayor, Governor Andrew Cuomo, saying this is New York. Attacks like this are a reality that we have to deal with. We keep our eyes open. We can handle this. Let's get back to work. Praise the police for a quick response here and getting that suspect in custody. And Mayor Bill de Blasio says there are no credible threats against New York City at this time, but they are securing transit sites in the city as a precaution.
You know, what's interesting is I think with a lot of these situations we see, and I think they weren't too surprised that this incident was captured on transit system surveillance video. So they're reviewing that right now in this investigation, Brandy, and that's going to be a huge part of this investigation.
That's going to be huge in the fact that this 27-year-old suspect did survive and is in custody, and we'll have to see if he's going to be open to being interviewed and answering questions. This could have been much worse. This could have been much worse in New York City. This could be a much different conversation that we're having this morning. As the governor said, this is their worst case scenario, having some sort of attack not only on human beings, obviously, at the crossroads of the world, but on their infrastructure, an attack on their infrastructure. So there's a lot of things that are happening this morning. The governor, Cuomo, seemed to suggest that, anyone can get online and download download how to make some sort of bomb. Obviously, this was a crude device. They called it low tech. Hard to say if that's going to factor into whether this individual had any sort of help or any sort of training. Clearly, this attack did not go off as this terrorist, as they called it. No doubt this is an act of terror, as he had planned for it to go off. So what's going to happen is the Joint Terrorism Task Force, they're going to work with local officials. They're going to try to track down everything that they know about this guy. And another note I want to make, obviously we're watching this from the other side of the country. You know, it's scary even when we have something like this in New York where, you know, thank God, only 4 people were injured. But New York has some of the most alert citizenry in the entire world, some of the most alert police officers in the entire world. They work as a city harder than anyone at trying to identify potential terrorists, trying to thwart attacks like this, trying to prevent them before they ever happen. One of the things you heard them repeat over and over was, if you see something, say something. That is a message that should not be New York, unique to New York City. That applies, even though New York City is certainly target number 1 for terrorists in the United States. That should apply to all of us as we're out every day. If you see something that just doesn't look right, there is no harm. There is minimal harm, perhaps if the person's not up to no good, minimal harm in pointing it out to law enforcement officials and saying, you know what, this person doesn't look right, something they're doing doesn't look right, let police take over and deal with that. That has saved lives before in New York City. It will continue to save lives, that sort of mentality on the part of everyday citizens.
And also saying that there's no credible threat that they can see to this city in general. However, saying that people will see that increased security presence all over the city, including tourist sites as well.
And I would imagine across the nation as well. Law enforcement will certainly be on high alert, and see something, say something, a message that we should all be taking to heart, no matter where you live. 6:49 right now, and time to get a check of weather and traffic.
Hey, good morning. It's a chilly morning, 32 degrees, right at freezing in Seattle. There is fog, but I'm not seeing it on the Capitol Hill tower cam right now. We also have an air quality alert, and I just want to point out the orange here, unhealthy for sensitive groups right through Seattle, Tacoma, that's Lacey and Olympia, Marysville, Arlington. So if you have breathing issues, you may want to stay indoors, take care of yourself. This is going to go on for a little while longer. 46 for the high today, Seattle, with sunny skies. Once the fog burns off, we're going to keep this pattern around for a few more days. Tomorrow, Wednesday, about the same. The air quality, the unstable air, the air stagnation advisory is supposed to go through noon today, but I think it's going to be extended until maybe Wednesday. And then Thursday, we start to change things up. By late Thursday into Friday, our next round of rain in the weekend right now is looking wet. All right, Adam, how's the commute?
Again, still this foggy condition that seems to be giving us a real question as far as our visibility is concerned in through the south end. Not making for an easy drive, drivers in through the south end right now. Finding Tacoma up towards the Dome. There, 16 to the Dome. Really, the challenge continues. The Valley Freeway and I-5 equally pressured. 33 minutes getting from Federal Way in towards SeaTac. About 25 minutes moving from Auburn to Renton. North 405 slugs it out through the Renton curve. Same goes for I-5 around the Michigan curve. And our floating bridge decks still overall timing out A-OK. 25 minutes. Issaquah to Seattle. 20 minutes. Redmond to Seattle. Then there's southbound 5 and southbound 405. Sure. Business here, 63 minutes getting from Everett into Seattle. Closer to 64 minutes, Everett to Bellevue on southbound 405. Liz and Bill, back over to you.
So as we just showed you here, we will continue following that explosion in New York this morning in the midst of a busy commute. More coming up at 7.
And the Sounders back home after a tough loss as they attempted to defend their MLS championship title. We will hear from fans who say they support this team through thick and thin.
We are going to fight to get everyone home. I'm scared.
Me too. If we have to shed blood sooner or later, I vote for sooner.
The Gifted, all new, tonight on Fox.
This time of year is all about family.
And we'd like you to be a part of ours.
So our Chevy employee discount is now available to everyone.
You pay what we pay.
And not a cent more.
We're so happy to share this with you.
It's our way of saying happy holidays.
And welcome to the family.
The Chevy family.
Use your employee discount for everyone and trade up to this Silverado All-Star to get a total value of over $11,000.
See your Northwest Chevy dealer.
I've been a commercial fisherman for 41 years. Truly is a magical place out there. I've been with Columbia Bank as long as this boat's been to sea. As a commercial fisherman, we have income pulses that are directly related to seasonal activities. If that propeller ain't turning, you're not earning. Columbia Bank tailored this loan to fit our business needs perfectly. They've made me happy as a clam at high tide.
It's an exciting time of year at Michael Subaru of Bellevue.
First, the 2017 Subaru Share the Love event. For every new Subaru sold at Michael's, Subaru will donate $250 to charity. Plus, thanks to our friends at the Summit of Snoqualmie, for every all-wheel drive Subaru purchase this holiday season, you'll receive 2 LTD season passes. Share the love and hit the slopes in your new Subaru from Michael's. Michael's Subaru of Bellevue, off I-90 at Eastgate, and always online at michaelsubaru.com.
Mount Rainier is our backyard. The Pacific is our swimming pool. It's hard to imagine a healthier place to live. And CHI Franciscan wants to keep it that way. With the Northwest's top-rated doctors when you're sick and an ongoing commitment to your health and well-being. Let's work together and keep you and your family Northwest healthy.
Get the 2017 Sportage with 0% financing and 1,000 holiday retail bonus cash at Kia's Light Up the Holidays sales event.
All right, 6:54 now on your Monday morning. It is great to have you here. It is crisp, clear, and cold out there to start your week. Meantime, Sounders fans braved the cold. They showed up to welcome the team home after a tough loss to Toronto in the MLS Cup Championship. That is nice to see, isn't it? The Sounders failed to score in Saturday's 2-0 loss to the Toronto Reds, missing their chance to bring home back-to-back championships. Fans we spoke with say they expect to see the Sounders in the MLS Cup again next year and hope it'll be played here in Seattle.
That was just one game. It was heartbreaking, devastating, but we love our team, and we wanted to come down and just let them know we love them.
They fell a little bit short, but you know what? There's nothing to take away from the fact that we made it to 2 MLS Cups in a row. We won the Western Conference 2 years in a row, and that's something to be darn proud of.
Later, the team tweeted out its appreciation to the fans, saying thank you to all the supporters who came out to our arrival. We can't wait to play for you in 2018 and beyond.
It's a big day in Hollywood today. Golden Globe nominations for the 75th annual Golden Globes are out, and among the noms, HBO's limited series Big Little Lies, nominated for Best TV or Limited Series, starring Nicole Kidman and Reese Witherspoon, both nominated for Best Actress in a TV movie or Limited Series. Will and Grace and Blackish receiving a nomination for Best TV Musical or Comedy, along with Master of None. Seth Meyers will be hosting the award show, airs Sunday, January 7th, along with a lot of other nominations as well. So coming up in just a few minutes here, we are following breaking news out of New York, reports of an explosion, and we have learned much more about that situation. Brandy Cruz joining us to break down what we know this morning.
Also, the Seahawks heading home after a tough, messy, ugly loss in Jacksonville, what the players had to say afterwards, and the really ugly moment that everybody's talking about this morning.